One thing you wish you knew starting your EdTech journey.
Okay, yeah. God, there are loads, but I'll tell you one. So when I started, I know it's a bit okay, so it's a bit of an odd answer really, but really I wish I'd understood better what YouTube was and what it could do for me because I was putting YouTube videos on at the beginning on another channel that I had, and they were getting thousands and thousands of plays because I was in so early. Thank you to a friend of mine who kind of got me set up and using with YouTube. I just never realized how early I was on YouTube and the results that I could have commercialized that really effectively. If I'd have understood at that point what YouTube meant commercially, I could have really opened up a lot of opportunities for myself much earlier on to go freelance and work for myself the way I am now, for example.
Yeah. And so your channel at the moment, it's some income from that, presumably?
Well, I earn no, you don't earn very
No.
much from a YouTube channel. What happens is the commercial aspects of YouTube, if you want to know, is really because once people are watching your videos and if they're impressed and they like them, they're going to contact you, or a small number of those people will, to ask you to do talks or consultancy or to do a presentation, etc. So I get a lot of money from that aspect of what I do. As far as a YouTube channel is concerned, and I'm not saying that you can't earn a lot of money because you can, but you do need thousands and thousands of plays of your videos. I have 80,000 subscribers, but it doesn't mean to say that 80,000 people watch my videos. Nothing like it. I might put a video out, and after a few weeks, maybe 2,000 people have watched that video. But in the old days, when I was first putting up videos onto another channel that I wasn't really
Mm.
monetizing, I literally did have, hundreds of thousands of plays on the videos. But at the time, I wasn't aware commercially of what that could have meant to me.
Yeah. What sort of genre?
So I had a channel called multimediatrainingvideos.com, which was connected to
Oh,
my job at the University of Warwick, where I
yeah.
was teaching, and multimediatrainingvideos.com, and we had a YouTube channel around that.
Yeah.
Those videos at that time were really, really popular. Macromedia products, Director, Flash, all the technology. Obviously, now that these technologies are not that important, but at the time, we got a lot of plays of those videos.
Yeah.
Um,
And then, so the channel you have now is sort of the next generation of what that original channel was.
no, not really.
No.
The that channel was more specific. I mean, even to a degree, what I was doing on teachertrainingvideos.com as well in the early days, because in fact, in the early days when I started the website, I
Mm.
wasn't even putting the videos on YouTube. I actually was housing them on a repository, and therefore I wasn't earning any money from them at all. I didn't even think about putting those videos onto YouTube. It was that actually came a little bit later when I began to realize, well, why aren't I actually putting the videos on YouTube? I might as well earn some money from them at the same time.
Yeah.
Very much at the beginning, I was just dealing with people saying, well, Russell, how do we make a blog? Or Russell, how do we use Google Docs? Or Russell, how do we record using Vocaroo? And I was making these videos and put them into a video repository and then putting them onto my website. And then it got to the point where I thought, well, no, I'll put these onto YouTube. But again, if I'd have had a better understanding of commercially, and even even the YouTube channel itself, it wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I really started to take it serious. Oh, like you can generate money from this. I need to make sure that I've got more hits on YouTube, etc. It was just my naivety at the beginning about what I was doing when I was putting those videos onto YouTube, and I realized now I could have, if I had the right mindset, I could have made much better use of the success of the channel early on and the YouTube channel as well.
That's so interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's another thing. I mean, I'm just a passive observer on TikTok, but you see people say, "Oh, you've got to post 5 video a day." But it sounds like you're sort of more motivated by the cognitive issue or helping students, the project, rather than sort of busting the algorithm. I mean, what's your output?
Yeah, so I mean, no, I mean, in terms of the way that my life is, in terms of it works. I normally put out between 1 to 2 videos a week onto YouTube. And
Mm,
as I said, you're right. I mean, I'm, because obviously, if I don't find anything that's really interesting, then I'm not going to make a video on it. I'm not going to really just sort of put a video out for the sake of it. So generally there's enough stuff going on that there's always something to make a video on, and often you got ideas. But no, I'm not trying to, YouTube's not my priority in terms of generating an income. But I'm not saying on the other hand that it's not, it's not a factor. It is a factor. Clearly,
Mm.
it can generate an income for you. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a story when when COVID came out. When COVID came out, sorry, when COVID started, and people suddenly were living at home, and then they were watching videos on YouTube and learning about things like Zoom. At the time, I had a video on Zoom that I think had been played about 200 times. Well, within about 6 weeks, 2 months, it had been played, I think, 750,000 times. Now, when a video gets played that often, the money that you earn from YouTube is a different ball game. Suddenly, you are talking about thousands of pounds just in ad revenue, just in terms of ad revenue. But of course, you would have to have videos like that all the time. My videos normally, as I said, get a couple of thousand plays, and it will take a while for it to reach that number. But at that time, during COVID, it was a point when suddenly it's like, wow, I was actually making a lot of money from YouTube. Yeah.
For now, who knows? Who knows which technology may sort of boom? Maybe
Yeah,
there'll
well, I
be
mean,
sort of
they're trying
pockets
to
of.
eat into YouTube, and to some degree, they've been quite successful. TikTok, particularly with young people, there's no doubt about it. But YouTube currently still seems to be expanding. I mean, it's still
Mm.
in a big growth. They've got a big push at the moment for new channels. So they're really, what you might notice if you ever when you look in your recommendations now, when you're on YouTube and you see the recommendations on the right hand side, you will notice that there will be now videos recommended that haven't necessarily got thousands and thousands of subscribers. They're trying to get kind of new people more involved in it.
And then, what's the biggest tech mistake educators make?
It's kind of focused really on the technology rather than on the learning. This is what I was saying to you earlier, why we've got to be very careful sometimes when we're making choices about technology. Because if we're language teachers, our priority should be to learn a language. And learning languages haven't changed cognitively. It's still the same process it was. So we have to think really carefully sometimes, because I always feel that when I observe lessons, that a lot of the time the teachers are kind of they're jumping from one game to the other, and it's all light and fun, but there's no real cognition taking place. There's no depth of learning. And I think we've got to be really, really careful. The priority has to be that number one thing we're trying to do in the class as language teachers is to teach languages, and the technology's got to support that. And often we've got to look at, hang on a minute, is this better to do with the technology or without technology? Because there are lots of really creative ideas, particularly in English language teaching. They've been around for years. I know some of the people that have written some of the, people like Mario Unvalukri, Jill Hatfield, Charlie Hatfield, people like that I've had the privilege to meet and know, and they've come out with, in the past, and still lots of creative ideas around language learning. And sometimes we end up, I think, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I think we just got to be really, really careful that if we make choices about technology, they really are, you know, grounded in the fact that we feel that doing it that way is going to impact on learning and help our students ultimately to learn a language.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah.